As you can see by the agenda, it's time to introduce P3.express. You already heard this term and this word, so it's time to expand it more a little. P3.express is a simple yet powerful project management methodology. We have 3 outstanding speakers that will introduce it to us, and they will walk us through its principle, real-world applications, and also the growing community. It's time to welcome our first expert, Nader K with 14 years of experience in project management in different industries, and the author of more than 50 books related to project management topic, mostly, who will introduce us to the core principles of P3.express. Nader, the time is yours.
Thanks, everyone. There was a clicker here before.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you here. It's my first time here in Kosovo, and so far I didn't have the chance to see the city, so I'm hoping to do it after the conference, but we'll see. So I've been working for about 28 years with projects. I started as a project planner in construction projects. And then I was moved to process plan projects and IT projects a little bit. And then I moved from planning and control into project management. And that's the exact, really precise way I'm dividing my time right now. Contributing to standards, that's what I really love to do. Writing books and articles, making e-learning courses, and giving presentations like what I'm doing right now. For the books, there are about 50 of them, but actually most of them are not about project management. They are about different pieces of software, Excel, AutoCAD, and so on. Otherwise, you can't write 50 books about project management. And for contributions, I've been a core team member to P3.express, Micro P3.express, P5.express, Noob, and the 7th edition of the PMable guide, the previous one. Now the new version is coming. And I've been a consultant to Prince2 Agile, and MSP. So, what we are thinking about here is mainly about, you can call them tools that solve problems for us, okay? Think about something like a saw that you will use with wood. It's a tool with one function that solves some of the problems you may have. Some of you may not have that type of problem because you don't work with wood, you don't do things yourself. Some others have. Or a hammer, it solves a different type of problem, right? And then when you think about the hammer, some of the hammers have that thing on the back where you can pull out nails, right? So that type of hammer has 2 functions instead of 1. 2 functions are combined in one tool, so it can solve more problems for you. That's a concept we have, combining different functions or features in one tool. And a lot of times it makes sense. But when are we going to stop that? How many features do we want to have? How many functions do we want to have in our tool? If you have the mentality to maximize it, you will run into problems. This thing is real, by the way. It's not useful, of course. It's a collector's items. It was made in 2006, and there are 141 functions in it. And the fact that you have so many functions is what makes it unusable. So there is a point where we reach the maximum utility, which is not one function, it's more than one function, but we've passed that point and caused problems here. Now, think about those 141 functions, and I'm trusting the manufacturer, I never counted. If you draw the usefulness of those functions for yourself or for a type of person, the type of person who has similar problems to you, okay? Who works in the same type of job. You will have different amounts of usefulness. Some of them are probably never going to be used, and some of them will be used a lot. Maybe the Caesars or something. Now imagine that you will sort them based on their usefulness. And now, if you're the type of person who would go and tries to pick the fewest possible of those features that give you the most utility, that can solve most of your problems, then what you have created is a minimalist system. That's what minimalism means. So at this point, I'm trying to give you an idea of the concept of minimalism, which is key for us. It's about focusing on the essentials of the problems you want to solve, whatever your domain is. If you focus on these things, you have a minimalist system. But if you try to cover as many of the features as possible, then you have a maximalist system. And unfortunately, the maximalist systems don't work very well because, well, you saw the picture. Those extras are usually distractions. We start by thinking that, well, sometime, someday, in a very special case, they may solve a problem for me. But their existence causes problems for you every day, for the hope of solving a problem in the future. So, when we try to be minimalist, what we get out of it is that what we create becomes easier to learn, easier to use, and easier to teach. That's a really simple output of this. And when you think about project management, that's really key. And teaching is not limited to trainers. As a project manager, you always have to teach people. You have to tell your team members how the project works. You have to tell your managers, higher managers in your organization how it works. You have to be able to explain it to your customer. And when you can do it well, those people will work better with you, and your project will go better. So, these are the 5 levels of management in the project ecosystem defined by OMIMO, and a similar thing exists in most other systems as well. It starts with portfolio management on the top. That's where we select projects. You have lots of projects you can do, you have many ideas, but you don't have unlimited resources. You cannot work on all of those at the same time. So you want to pick the best ones. What is best? That can be complicated. And also, you won't go, for example, for the highest return on investment alone, because you also need to balance them. Balance between the short-term and the long-term return. Balance for risk. Balance in different types of domains that you want to cover. For example, your company may work both in the private sector and public sector. You want to have both of them because they have different risks. Now, you decide to have 30%, for example, private sector projects and 70% public sector. That's how you want to balance it. And when you want to decide here what would be your next project, that's the type of thing you will have in mind. That is portfolio management, which is always necessary. What I want to say here is that project management alone is not enough for the success of an organization. You need to have all of these things. Program management is about managing a number of projects that work together for a single goal. Each of them will have its own project management, and then you will have a program management layer above all of them to align them with each other. Project management, that's for a single project, to make sure that you will create the output that is expected. Technical management, that's for team leaders and groups of people working in the project. And finally, we have task management for individuals, what each and every one of you have in one form or the other. Maybe it's not a structure, but you still have it there. If you want to be really successful, you need to pay attention to all of these things. And it's not easy. It's not easy for one organization to create systems for all of these, or for one person to do that. It takes a lot of trial and error. You basically don't have enough money and time to do that. That's why you have to use the existing systems, and there are many of them. These are some of the more famous systems you can use in all those different layers. And I've color-coded them based on which one is minimalist and which one is maximalist, which was the topic for the previous section. Now, here, this is our area in OMIMO. These are the systems that we have. And the main point, the main reason that OMIMO was born was that most of the systems in the project management layer were not minimalist, and people had difficulty implementing them. We decided that it's time to stop blaming people for not being able to implement project management systems and start creating something that they can really use. That's how P3.express was born. P3.express is for small, medium, and large projects, but not micro projects and not mega projects. For micro projects, we have a different system here, Micro P3.express. And then Noop, that's a series of principles you can use to improve your project management system, whatever it is. It can be Prince2, the PMable guide, or anything else. All of these are created in an organization called OMIMO. And OMIMO stands for Open Minimalist Modules. Being open is all about freedom. It's about respecting the freedoms of people. It means that everything created in OMIMO is non-proprietary. They are libre. In English, the word that's used is free, but the problem is free is that you use it both for free of charge and free as in freedom. In many other languages, it's not like that. How is it in Albanian? Do you have two words or one word? Two. So what's the word for free as in freedom? Ilir. Okay. Ilir. So everything in OMIMO, such as P3.express, is ilir. It's freedom respecting. And it's the way it is freedom respecting is defined by the license it uses. It's Creative Commons attribution. It's an international license. And what's important with this license is that whenever you give rights to the user with this license, they become permanent. Legally, they cannot be taken back. And that's really essential because without that, someone can come and say, okay, what I've created is freedom respecting, you can do whatever you want with it, and then you go and invest on it because when you want to provide services with it, you have to invest your time to create the capability to provide those services. And then that imaginary organization can come back to you after 6 months or a year and say, okay, now you have to pay me a lot of money, or do these crazy things if you want to use my material. That's not possible when something uses Creative Commons because the rights are given permanently. And then you can say it in many different things. For example, it's really privacy respecting. When you go to the website, you will have a link to download the manual, for example, and people are sometimes shocked because when they click on that, it actually downloads the manual. People are getting used to getting a really big form and having to add all different types of private information in order to download something, and then they will be bombarded with a spam email. It's not like that. You click, you will get it. There's also no tracking on the website, not at all. It's just the website is only a place to serve the users and no one else. The other aspect is inclusion in many different ways. So for example, in P3.express, at the end I will give you the links. There's this game that you can play after you read the manual, and it's an interactive story. You will play the role of a project manager, you will go through the story of a project, and at each point you will have to make a decision. Based on the decision you make, you will go through different paths in that story. and each path gives you a different experience. And those experiences are how you will learn more about P3.express. It has worked very well. Now, that's a story, right? And we have different characters in the story. We have 20 of them, actually. Think about the typical characters that you see in the stories and their names. We spend many days selecting names for those characters. Those 20 names come from all different places in the world. They represent different people in the world. The idea is to include everyone. And all the names are unisex. Names used both for male and female. And the text, the English text, is written in a way that it doesn't imply gender for anyone. Because everyone should be included here. All of these, P3.express and the rest of them, belong to everyone in the world. It's not like many things that for them, the US is the first-class citizen, Europe is the second-class citizen, and the rest of the world is the third-class citizen. It's not like that at all. And because of all of these things, we have a really good community. It's a relatively large community. It's comparable with the oldest project management communities, comparing with the biggest ones that are more than or about 50 years old. It's 1/3 of them in less than 10 years, which is really great. And those people are really active, more active than other communities. And it makes sense because when they are contributing, they are not contributing to something that someone else owns, but they are contributing something that they own. They really, really own it. And they are really diverse in many different ways. So in most communities, we only have people coming from IT projects or construction projects. But here we have many people who are working in humanitarian projects, which is absolutely amazing. We are always proud of it. Or people working in artistic projects, cultural projects. And that diversity is really helpful because each of them brings their own experiences, a new perspective to P3.express, and it helps it grow much faster for everyone. It becomes more effective even for someone who works in IT projects or construction projects. And for example, when you go to the website, you would see that P3.express is available in about 30 languages. That's, of course, including Albanian. And that's all done by this community. Really, really wonderful community. So, you see that these are styled differently. It's because they are not created yet. Now we have these 3 modules in project management and P5.express for portfolio management. P4.express is the one we are working on right now. It will come later. And then we will work on P1 and P2.express. And then when we are done with all of those things, we will have a number of modules that apply to more than one layer. Things like decision-making, critical thinking, conflict resolution, contract management, and so on. So there's a lot to do. And if you feel enthusiastic about it, you're always very welcome to join the community and help in anything that makes sense to you in this whole package. It belongs to you, and you're welcome in it. This is P3.express, which is one of the modules. You remember we have all these modules. So P3.express is for project management, and now I'm going to give you a really, really short overview of how it works. And then you can go to the website to get more details, or you can have courses with PMable. They offer P3.express courses. They are accredited trainers. So in this process, each of these nodes is a project management activity. Each of them has a defined goal, a purpose, and a way of doing things. And they are in different groups. You see them? Each of them is an activity group. The way it works is that we start with project initiation. That's at the beginning. That's when we don't even know whether or not we want to run the project. We will create a team and design the relationships inside the team. And at this point, it's not necessarily the whole team, but the key team members. Then these people will work together to create a common understanding for the project. That's another way of saying plan the project. It will be a high-level plan. Then we will use that plan to decide whether or not we want to run the project. That's basically what we do here. We have two main goals for project initiation. One is to see whether or not it's a good idea to run the project, and the other one is to create a foundation for running the project in case we decide to do so. The last thing we do is what we call focused communication, and we have focused communications at the end of each activity group, except for daily. For each focused communication, we have a certain type of content and a defined recipient. And that's the minimum communications you really need to have in your projects. In here, what we do is that we tell everyone in the organization that we're going to run the project. And it may sound simple, but we usually fail in doing so. There are many people in many organizations who don't know what's happening. When you do it properly, which is a very simple communication, a lot of times someone will come to you from one corner of the organization and say, oh, wait, what you're going to do will cause problems for us in what we have to do in 6 months from now or 1 year from now. During this planning activity, you have to identify those people. But in reality, a lot of times we miss a few people. That focused communication helps. We have lots of double checking in proper project management, and it's an example of that. So, that's project initiation at the beginning. And at the end, we have project closure. That's where we double check everything to make sure everything is okay. We will tie up the loose ends. We will celebrate, which is important. That's investment on people for the future projects. And of course, we will have focused communication. This time, we will tell everyone in the organization that we're going to finish, to close the project. Now, the same way we have initiation and closure for the whole project, we will have initiation and closure for our monthly cycles. We run the project 1 month at a time. In monthly initiation, we will revise our plans and add details for the upcoming months. And then we will check again whether or not it still makes sense to continue the project. Because sometimes we start the work, it makes sense at the beginning, but as we go on with the project, something changes in the market, so it doesn't make sense anymore. It's a good idea to stop it. Or maybe even you learn more, nothing has changed, but because you've learned more about the project, you realize that it doesn't make sense anymore. Because, for example, it's harder to do the project, it takes more resources. And at the end, you have a focused communication. This one is not for everyone in the organization, it's only for the team members. You will tell them what's supposed to be happening in the upcoming months. Something else we have before the focused communication here is peer review. We have it here and also in project initiation and project closure. It's one of the things that's very important for P3.express, and people had very good experiences with it. What you do is that you will bring one of the people outside the project, someone in your organization who doesn't work in the project, to help you by taking a look at what you've done. And it's really great because a lot of times you have mistakes, but you don't see them, not because you don't know, sometimes you don't know, but sometimes you don't see them because you are too close to the work. When you bring a fresh set of eyes, they can find some of those mistakes. That's a great thing. That's the first purpose we have here for peer reviews. The second one is that when that person looks at what you've done, they learn from you. And when they give you suggestions, you learn from them. That's also really great. So everyone in the organization is learning from each other, the project managers, not everyone. So because of these two, something that really happens with both of them is to keep changing the person you bring to peer review. If possible, we want to bring a new person each time. Okay, we have a few special techniques, if you will, like that in P3.express. That was about monthly initiation. For monthly closure, we will evaluate the satisfaction of team members and customer. We do it every month, normally with anonymous surveys. The goal is, if there's a problem, we want to find out as soon as possible before they pile up, because that's just easier to fix. We can ignore them, but that becomes harder, and sooner or later, we are the ones who are supposed to fix them. So we do that to make things easier. Everything we do here is done to make things easier for us, less expensive. That's the problem some people have. Some people think that a structured project management makes things expensive or difficult. But if that makes things expensive and difficult, it means that you're not doing it right. When done right, that's the opposite. Okay, so we will do the evaluation, and then based on that, we will design some improvement plans. And of course, the focused communication, as always. And this focused communication is focused on these evaluations. Then during the months, we have weekly activities. In those weekly activities, we will measure progress, and based on the deviations we discover, we will have some fixes. We will decide how to fix those deviations. For the daily activities, there are two things we have to do. We have to be ready to do those things every day. One is related to deliverables. When something is finished, we want to make sure that it's really complete and nothing is missing. And also, we want to limit the amount of work done in parallel, because that's a bad habit many of us have that reduces productivity. So instead of working on too many items at the same time, we want to focus on an optimum number of them, finish them, and then go to the next. So that's one thing. And the other thing is working with the follow-up items. Follow-up item is P3.express term that refers to risks, issues, change requests, improvement plans, and lessons learned. In P3.express, they are in the same place, and we have the same process for managing them. In here, at the end of project closure, our project is finished. It's done, over. But we still have a post-project management cycle. In an ideal world, you will have a structured portfolio management system to do these things, but because we know that most organizations don't have it, we've designed it here. When you have a portfolio management system, we have some guidance on how to connect the two of them together. There's also guidance on who has to be responsible for these things. So here, we will measure benefits realized from the product of the project, and based on that, we will design actions or projects that can improve them. So for example, think of this conference. It's something that will be finished by the end of the day, and then Eldisa and the rest of the team, they can come back to this every, for example, 2 or 3 months and see, what did it do for us? And then at one point, they may see that, okay, we have had some benefits here based on the drivers they have in their organization, but maybe we can have this interview with that magazine about the conference we had before. It's a small activity when you compare it to the conference. It's not a project, it's just a small activity. But by doing that, we can really increase our benefits by 20%. That's a good thing to do, let's do it. That's the type of thing we do here in post-project management. Or for example, remember I told you that The manual is available in 30 languages, right? And when I say benefit, it's not money. It's any type of advantage you consider. Most of the volunteers who work here, the benefit they have in mind is creating awareness in their own communities. So we have a post-project management, and every quarter we release a report for everyone that tells them about the performance of those translations. Right now, about 80% of the people who read P3.express read it in a language other than English, which is really, really high. And it's a really good achievement for those people. And the last thing we do here is focused communication. In that focused communication, we tell people about the things that have happened. The report that I told you, that's an example of that focused communication. Okay, that was it. That was my talk. Thank you. Thank you. If you like, you can go to that page. You can find my contact information, my website, the articles I've written, my LinkedIn profile link. I'm relatively active on LinkedIn. We can talk there a lot. There's a copy of this slide deck, and you can use it for any purpose you want. Then you will find links to resources about P3.express and some information about how to contribute. And hopefully we have some time for questions.
So, Nader, thank you for your presentation.
My pleasure.
And now it's time. So now it's time for Q&A session. Do you have any questions or feedbacks regarding this topic?
The first one is the hardest.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Fationa. I'm the founder of Inside Solutions. And actually, you were mentioning that you've done some construction projects. We do have some construction projects for one of our clients. And sometimes it's just so messy because the client could be messy on what he needs. And I just want to know your experience. What software did you use? How was it? The whole experience on construction projects?
Don't try to find a solution in software. Your solution is in the way you work. Try to find that. You can start with P3.express. It's really easy to implement. And for example, something I didn't mention here is that in most systems, in maximalist systems, you have to start with customizing it for yourself. But in a minimalist system, you don't have to do that. You can start without customization and then customize it as you go on, which makes it really easy. Just focus on the method, and then when you see that you can really benefit from software, and not one piece of software, multiple pieces of software to facilitate something, then add it, see whether or not it works. If it works, keep it. If not, remove it. And go on like that until you have a perfect solution. But don't start with software. That almost never works.
Thank you, Fationa. Thank you, Nader.